So this is my refrigerator, and it originally was an ice box, and there's another compartment behind the wall back there in the back wall that's actually outside. You get it to it from outside. There's a little hatchback out here that you can open up and get to it, and you put a block of ice down in there. And so how it works is that the block of ice is in that back compartment, and then there was a slit cut in between the walls of the two compartments. And so what happens is cold air from the block of ice gets down into here, and it keeps your food cold. But when the block of ice melts, the water from the block of ice stays in the back compartment, and there's a drain hole in the bottom of that compartment. And so the melted ice water drains into the bilge and then is pumped out with the bilge pump. So that keeps your food dry. So it lets cold air into this part of the refrigerator, and but it doesn't let water in when the ice melts. So it keeps your food dry. If you've been on a camping trip with used ice chest, you know what it's like when your ice melts and your food's floating around in water. It's not good. So what I did was, when I bought this boat, of course, I didn't want to be buying blocks of ice all the time and dealing with that. So I went ahead and decided I'm going to turn this into a refrigerator and a freezer. And so how I did that, I bought a unit called an Ingle. It's an Ingle, that's the brand name, refrigeration that's portable. And so it's like an ice chest. It has a compressor, evaporator, and condenser built into it. And so it was one unit. So it was like an ice chest. And you could use it either as a refrigerator or a freezer, depending on how you adjusted the temperature, but not both. Because if it froze, it froze. And so it would be either a refrigerator or a freezer. If you keep the temperature up warmer, then it's a refrigerator. If you turn it down colder, it's a freezer. And I needed both. I needed refrigerator and freezer. So what I did was I bought this Ingle and took it all apart and removed the compressor, condenser, and evaporator out of the unit and installed it in here. As you can see, this refrigerator is all frosted up. And so this is the freezer part here. And this is where the evaporator is. It's buried under all of this ice. So I'm going to have to thaw out this ice out of here, and so I can clean out this refrigerator, because I haven't cleaned it in over, actually, I think it's been 2 years since I've actually did a deep clean on it, and you can tell by looking at it. And so what I have to do is I have to thaw it out, and then scoop the water out. It has a drain hole in the bottom, but it's clogged. It's the drain hole goes into this copper tube, and I think there's like an elbow. I stuck a wire down in there, tried to unclog it, but I couldn't. It only goes so far and then it'd stop, and I couldn't get it unclogged. So I'll have to bail it out by hand, unfortunately, and after I melt all this ice and clean it out. But so you can see it's pretty dirty. I got a little black mold around the edges there that have to be cleaned out. And so what I do is when I thaw it out, I'll pour a little bit of chlorine bleach in the water and down in the bottom, and I'll use that for cleaning and kind of sterilize it out. And so this side is the freezer side, and how it works is that the cold air from the freezer spills over to this other side, which is the refrigerator side, and it's buried under that ice. I do have a foam wall that divides the two, and I left space on top here to let the cold air from the cold side to spill over from the freezer side to spill over into the refrigerator side. So normally stuff on this side doesn't freeze, but stuff on this side does. Interesting enough, beer, I guess, has a colder freezing point than water, because if I put bottles of water down in here, they'll freeze, but my beer won't, unless I get it too cold, then it will. And I like my beer to be as cold to freezing as possible without freezing it. And once you freeze beer, it's not the same. It doesn't taste good. So occasionally I'll get a bottle that freezes, and I have to let it thaw out, and I'll drink it anyway. But it's not as good. And But so this refrigeration unit works really, really well. I've been really happy with it. The only thing I don't like about it is it's top loading. And so whenever you need something, it always seems to be buried all the way in the bottom, and you have to take everything out to get to it, whatever you're looking for. And that's the problem with top loading refrigeration. Though the good thing about top loading refrigeration is when you open up the door, this hatch here, it doesn't let the cold air out because cold air is heavier than warm air, so it sinks. So it stays in here. It's just like at the supermarket. You know how you go by, they have those big freezers that are all open at the top, and they have all the frozen foods down in there, and you can just reach down and grab the food out. So yeah, like your refrigerator at home, when you open up the door and it's front load, it lets all the cold air out, just spills all out. But this doesn't, so it actually makes it a lot more efficient. And also down in here under the ice, you can't really see it. You might be able to see a little bit here behind this bottle. See a little bit of blue color in the ice down there. What that is that's a blue ice pack. And I got the evaporator I have lined with these rigid blue ice packs. So they're the same kind of ice packs that you put in your freezer and then put it in your lunch box, you know, to keep your lunch cold when you go to work or whatever. And so I have these. You can get like bags of blue ice, or you can get them in rigid containers. And so I used rigid containers, and I happened to find ones that were just the right size that would fit around the evaporator and protect. It actually helps protect the evaporator too, because the evaporator is made of aluminum and it's real easy to damage. So what happens is that blue ice packs, those blue ice packs, they freeze, and the freezing point of the liquid inside is lower than water. So it has to be below 32 degrees. Water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And the blue ice packs, they have to get a lot colder than that to freeze. But once they freeze, they stay frozen longer and they stay cold longer. So they do have what's called holding plate refrigeration systems for boats. They're really expensive, and they use the same kind of thing. They have usually it's a real thin container made out of stainless steel that lines the interior of your freezer. Sometimes it's only one side. Sometimes it might be L-shaped, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen one that goes all the way around. I have blue packs that go all the way around. But so the blue packs works like holding plate refrigeration. So I can shut my refrigeration off, and if I was going to leave or needed to shut it off for days, and I've literally shut this down for a week and come back and the food and everything was still cold and fine, no problem at all. Just from the blue ice packs, and because the ice box is so well insulated, plus I added extra insulation in against the walls to even give it more insulation. So, at any rate, the only part of the refrigeration system that I installed is the evaporator that's in here. Now, outside here is where I put the compressor and the condenser. And so we'll go out here and we'll look at that. So underneath this hatch here, this is where you used to put in the block of ice, and this is the ice compartment. And so it's probably pretty grungy down in here. I haven't cleaned down in here in a long time. But right down in there is the compressor and the condenser, and then that silver round thing is actually a brew chamber out of a coffee brewer. I'm a technician for a coffee company, and I work on commercial coffee brewing equipment. So that's an old tank that I took that we had scrapped, and I put it over the electronic circuit board that runs this refrigeration system to keep it from getting wet, because this lid here on this hatch does tend to leak a little bit when it rains. And so at any rate, you can see the compressor is back there in the back corner, and it's that round thing right back here. And it that's the compressor. And then this part down here where you can see the copper tubing. That's something I added in. That's the condenser. And so how it works is the compressor compresses the refrigerant, which is it's kind of a liquefied gas actually. And so how it works is that it compresses the refrigerant and runs it through the evaporator down inside the refrigerator in the freezer part, and that gets cold. And then it comes back up and expands out into the condenser here. And the condenser is where it dumps the heat out. So it basically is pulling heat out of the refrigerator and bringing the heat out to here. And that's what makes the refrigerator cold, the freezer cold. And so you can see those copper tubes there that are down in there. What I did was I added that in. I lined the condenser and the compressor with copper tubing, which in the future, if I sail down into like the tropics where the water is hot, or a lot warmer, warm water and warm ambient temperatures, the refrigeration system is not going to work as well as it does here in the San Francisco Bay Area because it's cooler here. So I decided to go ahead and, when I put this thing together, to line it with copper tubing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some coolant, which would be like antifreeze in your car radiator, and run it through the copper tubing to cool the system down. And it'll make it more efficient. And also when I get into warmer temperatures, the refrigeration system should still work really well. And how that will work is that the coolant will run through a heat exchanger. So there'll be a pump, electric pump that'll run the coolant through the tubes here, through the copper tubing, and then there'll be a heat exchanger where I'll run salt water, seawater, through the exchanger. And so it'll be tubes within a tube. That's a heat exchanger. So these copper tubes will go into a heat exchanger. The coolant will be cooled down by the seawater, and then the seawater be pumped back overboard. So that's how this is going to work. And so at any rate, this is my refrigeration system, and it works really well. It's been over 10 years now, and it's just worked great. I've just been really happy with it. And so that's today's project, is to thaw out the refrigerator and clean it out. So another thing I'm going to do is, because the outside part is where the hatch is, where the compressor and stuff is down in there, I'm going to lower the compressor and that condenser down a little bit farther down in there. I'll probably have to cut the bottom out of that compartment to lower it down, but I need to get that lowered down just a little bit to give me some room, because I need more counter space in here. This is really the only counter space I got for prepping food, other than this cutting board I put over the sink, and then I have my galley dinette behind me here that I'll set plates and food, or pots and pans while I'm cooking, to just give me room to work while I'm cooking, prepping food. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this back panel out, and I'll probably use my oscillating tool and cut across the top and across the bottom, and remove all of these panels of teak. And I'll have to be real careful not to damage them, because I want to reuse them. And so what I'll do is I'll get some webbing, nylon webbing, and attach it to the back of like a strip going across the back of these panels, and another strip across the bottom. So there'll be 2 strips. And then I'm going to make this like a roll top desk, so you can slide this open, and it'll go back and go back inside this way. So you can open and close this up. So I'll be able to open this up. It'll create more storage for me. It'll also give me a little more counter space. So I'll be able to put stuff back in here, but I'll have room here. I can, while I'm cooking and need more counter space, I'll be able to reach up under here and set stuff there while I'm prepping food. So that's the plan for that. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my my hair dryer out and set it up in here so it thaws this ice out, and hopefully I can get it thawed out within an hour or two, I'm hoping, and try to get this done today. I've spent like 5 hours cleaning this thing out before, and it's getting late in the day, so I'm hoping I can get this done today. So I'm gonna start on that right now. So here we go. Okay, I'm done defrosting with the hair dryer, and here's the hair dryer. I had it set up here like this, and the cool part was when the ice melted, it evaporated. So there's absolutely no water down in the bottom. When I've cleaned this refrigerator out in the past, I'd use a hair dryer, but it would take a long time. So what I'd end up doing was I'd heat up some water and pour hot water over the ice, over the frost inside the refrigerator to thaw it out. And then I'd end up with like I don't know, probably about 20 gallons of water down in here to bail it out by hand. So this time I just let the hair dryer do it, and I ran the hair dryer at low temperature. It has two settings, high and low. High, unfortunately, after a while my breaker goes off. So I went ahead and just set it to low, and I ran it for about 8 hours straight. That's how long it took. But as you can see, all the ice is gone now, and there's no water in the bottom, and it's really disgustingly dirty in here. So now I just got to clean it up. So you can see all the blue ice packs, and that works as my holding plate refrigeration. And the ice packs are, I have zip tied up against the evaporator, so that that white frame you see around the back side, it goes all the way around. It's box shaped. That's the evaporator. And that's what I like about this refrigeration. There's companies that make refrigeration units that you can convert ice boxes, because originally this was an ice box, into a refrigerator. And most of them, if not all of them that I've seen, the evaporator just goes along one side, or they're L-shaped. And that's what was nice about this Engel, the unit that I bought and removed all the parts and installed them in here, is the evaporator is actually a rectangle box shape. It goes like this way, this way, this way, and back that way. And so it works really good. And those blue ice packs, they freeze. And once they freeze up, I can shut this refrigeration off, shut the power off to the refrigerator for days, and it'll stay cold. And so it makes it really efficient. And since I'm going to be putting up solar panels, and I have my lithium iron phosphate battery bank that I built, that'll be running the refrigeration unit. So on days when the sun isn't shining and it's cloudy, these blue ice packs should get me through no problem to when the sun starts coming back out, and I can start charging up my my battery bank. So I think it'll work great. And I've been using this. I've set this up for, gosh, it's been probably 10 years or more. And well, let's see, 10 years. I bought the boat 10 years ago this September. So yeah, I installed it pretty much right after I bought the boat. And so actually, I had another Engel, exact same model, and that one I already had for like 10 years prior to that. And so it was an older unit, and I installed it in here first, and it lasted about a year. Unfortunately, I think it sprung a leak, and the Freon slowly leaked out. And also, I didn't have the blue ice packs in with the other unit. And I think I bumped into the evaporator, and it has little channels here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's a channel right there. And this is all it's aluminum plate. I dented that one of the channels, so I think it restricted the flow of refrigerant. And from that point back, it wouldn't freeze. I wouldn't get frost on you can see frost will develop on the evaporator. And So I damaged it, and then I think it slowly leaked out. And when I installed it, I really tweaked on the because the Freon is inside, the refrigerant is inside the unit, and it's completely sealed. And so when I took the Engel apart, the original one, and I put it in here, I really did a lot, tweaked the hell out of the tubing. It's copper tubing to get everything in here, because I had to put the whole unit in here, and the compressor and the condenser I had to cut a big slot in the back wall here to push that all up into the other side where the ice block used to go, which I showed you earlier, where the compressor and the condenser is. And so when I put this one in, so I had bought another one. They're real expensive. I think they're like $1,000. I went ahead and bought a new unit, and I decided I want to get the exact same unit because it works so well. And so I was more careful when I put it in. So this has been in here for almost 10 years now, and it's flawless. It works great. So, and I expect it to run quite a lot longer into the future. The compressor is a swing compressor built in Japan, so super high quality. So as long as I don't get any leaks, it should last a very long time. And having the blue ice also, once it freezes and gets cold, it takes a lot of pressure off of the system, because it doesn't have to keep running all the time. You know, it kicks on for a short time and shuts off, and then it's off for quite a while, and it kicks back on again. So you can see all the blue ice packs down there. I got one yellow one, and it's really disgusting down in here. I also have black mold here around the frame, and I had this stuff called Kaboom, and it works really good at removing black mold. There was a stuff I used a long time ago called X14, and I couldn't find it anymore, but I found the stuff Kaboom, and it's pretty much the same thing. It smells the same. It's real intense ammonia smell. It'll knock you out. I mean, you got to have a lot of ventilation when you use it, but it only takes a very small amount of that stuff to kill the mold. And unfortunately, I couldn't find my bottle of Kaboom today. One bottle will last you forever, and I don't know what the hell happened to it. So now I'm going to go ahead and remove the blue ice packs, and I'll clean those up individually. And then I'm going to go ahead and spray some Clorox in here just to sterilize it and sanitize it, because it's probably got a lot of bacteria growing down in here. And I need to I really prefer not to use such harsh chemicals around my food and stuff, but I really need to get a deep clean here. And there's a gap between the evaporator and the wall there, and I got to be able to get some cleaner down in there, so I'll have to just spray Clorox in there and then rinse it out and sponge it all out. I think I'll maybe try my vacuum cleaner first and kind of vacuum up any of this loose debris. This is the divider that divides the freezer. This is the freezer side, and this is the refrigerator side. So the cold air from the evaporator, and this gets really cold and freezes, and then that cold air spills over to this side. That's why I left this space on top. And this is just insulation foam, and it looks pretty ugly, and I don't have any on board. I used to have a bunch of it, but I got rid of it when I moved. So I'm gonna go ahead, and what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that foam out, that foam partition, and I got some big, wide, heavy-duty aluminum foil, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and just glue some aluminum foil on around that foam, and then reinstall it so it'll look better. So it should look nice when I get it done. So this is a big job. Every time I do this, it takes me like all day, usually several hours, and I hate doing it, but it's got to be done. And you can see the insulation I put in. I put in extra insulation. This was all fiberglass, and I went ahead and put insulation around here to give it even more insulation. And then it's got a lot of thick insulated foam around around the entire thing. So it's very well insulated. And so the foam walls, insulation I put around the walls, I'm not going to remove those. And you can see gut gets underneath it, in between it. So that's, again, well, I'm going to have some chlorine and some Clorox and some water down in here, so it'll seep up under the foam and clean under there and sterilize it and get it really good and clean. So when I get this all cleaned up, it looks really nice, and all kinds of stuff falls down in here. This is like a bolt that I'd cut off of something, and yeah, I don't know what that was off of, but it looks like I cut it or it broke and it fell down in here from something. So at any rate, so that's what's going to happen next, is I'm going to go ahead and just clean it all out, make it look nice. I can't wait to get it working again, because I put my beer in a bucket of ice, and even though the beer is in ice, it's still not cold enough for me. Like I said earlier, I like my beer almost frozen. And if it's not, it's weird. You put it in a bucket of ice and have it in there for hours and hours, and you think it'd be ice cold, and it still tastes kind of warm to me. So anyway, I'm really used to ice cold beer. So okay, you might notice a little bit of an improvement here. So I got it pretty well cleaned out. I used a little chlorine bleach and water, and just kind of wiped it all out good with a paper towel, sprayed some chlorine bleach all around the entire interior. And then I used this stuff called Spray 9 for the mold around the top here, around the frame. And I wished I had some of that X15 or Kaboom, because I still got a little, it was kind of hard to get in the corners there and get all the black mold. But I went ahead and soaked it down with some of this Spray 9, and I'm just going to let it set. It looks like it's already starting to clean it up, so on its own. So yeah, so there it is. And there's the evaporator down there. So it's that white box. And maybe you can hopefully see the little channels in it where the coolant flows through, and then the aluminum plate gets cold. And what I really like about that Engel cooler that I bought and took the interior parts out, which is the evaporator here, compressor and condenser, is that it's square shape. And like I said, a lot of you can buy refrigeration systems for boats to convert your ice box into a refrigerator, and most of them only have the evaporator only goes along one side, or maybe L-shaped, and I just don't see that would work very well. So this is great, because this is the freezer side, and this is the refrigerator side. And now I cleaned up all of the blue ice packs, and I got them out here sitting in the sun, and I soaked them in chlorine water and wiped them down, sponged them down real good, and I'm letting them sit in the sun, because there's no better disinfectant than fresh air and sunlight. And that one there looks a little like it's got a film on there, but I think they had labels that were glued on, and I had to peel the labels off when I first got them, and I think that's still some of the glue from the label. So yeah, so the sunlight's sterilizing them, and so I'm getting ready to put these back in. And once I get them all back in, I start up the refrigerator, and it'll take a few days for these ice packs to get frozen, and I'll have nice ice cold beer again, and nice clean refrigerator. So I absolutely love my refrigeration system. I think it's just probably one of the best ones I've ever seen on a boat. And so I know there's better ones. I mean, there's my neighbor built a 68-foot aluminum sailboat, and he had walk-in refrigeration. So yeah, mine's not that nice, but for this type of boat, this size of boat, this definitely is better than most. So I'm very happy with it. It's been great. I've had it for 10 years, and hopefully it'll run another 10 years or longer, I'm hoping. What a lovely sight. I got the blue ice packs back in, so you can see now how they work. And the white frame around the blue ice packs is the evaporator. And you can see the little channels on the sides there of the evaporator where the coolant goes through. And so it'll take a few days for this to get down to temperature. I still have some blue ice packs that I like to put down on the bottom of the refrigerator side. I also have blue ice packs I put down in the bottom on the freezer side, so I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so now I have the all the blue ice packs in. So I got them in the bottom too. And the reason, let's see if I can get some more light on this. The reason I put them on the bottom is also in case I get moisture down in the bottom, my food's not sitting in water. Sometimes I might shut it down for a while, and then if it's frosted up, the frost will melt, and then the bottom will get wet. And so this kind of keeps the food up off the floor of the refrigerator, and it keeps it dry, because nothing I can't stand worse than food floating around in icky water. Especially like I was saying earlier, in an ice chest when you go camping and the ice melts and now your food's floating around in water. It's just disgusting. So yeah, I think that's quite an improvement here from the beginning of this video. And so that's it. The compressor's running, and it's going to take probably 2 to 3 days at least before it gets down to temperature. It takes a long time for the blue ice to freeze. It has to be below 32 degrees. So yeah, and let's see if I can feel if the evaporator is getting cold. It's only been running for a few minutes. So, oh yeah, it's definitely getting cold. So yeah, it's another project well done. And this is what I call a spinning your wheels kind of project. You know, it's just cleaning, and you gotta constantly be cleaning, just like a house. You got to do it on a boat, except on a boat it's always a lot more difficult for some reason. Don't ask me why. You know, boats aren't that big compared to a house, but keeping boats clean inside and out, especially inside, believe it or not, is a lot of work. It's just it's always difficult. There's always stuff in the way. Things are stored on top of other stuff, and it's never easy. So it's like I always said, nothing's easy on a boat. It never is. So get a boat, expect that you're going to be, even a low maintenance boat, you're still going to have things you're going to have to do. And but yeah, looks good to me, and a lot better than it did. So if you found this video helpful or entertaining, please like and subscribe. Yeah, one more thing. I didn't put the divider in. And so I haven't put the divider in yet because it's saturated. It's really wet and heavy. And here it is right here. And so it goes in between, down in here, in between the both sides here. It keeps the refrigerator side from getting too cold and freezing. But this foam and foil here, it's kind of still not looking real good. It's saturated with water, and it's really heavy, and this is styrofoam. It should be really light. So I'm gonna leave this outside in the sun probably for the whole week. It'll probably take that long for it to dry out. Then I'm gonna go ahead and cover it with heavy duty aluminum foil. I'll just glue it to this and cover it over to make it look good, and then I'll put it back in. So it'll probably be like next weekend when I get this back in and get it divided, because I have to have the divider in there because you can see the evaporator there side is right there against the refrigerator side, and I don't want stuff in the refrigerator to freeze. Certain foods, when they freeze, you can just throw them out. It ruins them. So I got to keep the freezer frozen and the refrigerator unfrozen but cold. So, and that's it.